So who is involved in rideshare accident claim? If you are involved in a wreck that involves Lyft or Uber, we are going to be litigating or trying to obtain a settlement through the insurance carrier for Lyft and Uber. If there is another insurance policy involved, it could potentially be the driver's own personal insurance company, depending on what phase of the ride we're in or what the facts of the wreck are. That insurance company could also be involved, but typically we're just going to be dealing with the insurance carrier for Lyft and for Uber. Well, how long it can take to settle a rideshare accident claim really depends on the extent of the injury. If we have minor injuries, something like soft tissue injuries, which is, no broken bones, no fractures, no concussions, things like that, those can tend to settle a little bit quicker than claims that involve major injuries. I never like to set expectations on time limits for these kinds of claims because anything can happen and it really is case by case. But I would say that typically, from the date of the wreck until settlement, it could potentially be 2 to 3 years. The other factors that are taken into consideration, like I just said, are the extent of the injuries, how many parties are involved. If there is more than just 2 vehicles involved in the wreck, that can create some problems because there's going to be other claimants against the same insurance policy. That can kind of tend to drag things out. The only other issue that would really create a time problem would be if there's disputed liability in the case. When you should sue after a rideshare car accident, that also is very dependent upon the extent of the injuries and the parties involved in the case. The statute of limitations on any personal injury claim is 2 years from the date of the wreck. Typically, if we have minor injuries, something like soft tissue, or moderate injuries, maybe a broken bone, I would try to settle with the insurance company before filing a lawsuit, just to kind of keep costs and expense down for the client and also just stress. Filing a lawsuit and being a party to a lawsuit can sometimes create a lot of stress and anxiety for people, especially if they're not used to that system. And so I try my best to try and settle those claims before having to file suit. Now, if we're talking about a case that involves major injuries or there's disputed liability, filing a lawsuit sooner than later is helpful because then we're entitled to do discovery and obtain certain documents that we might need in order to prove our claim. If a rider is injured exiting an Uber or Lyft, that period of coverage is still period 3 because the ride has not yet ended. I actually handled a claim a couple of years ago where a woman was exiting an Uber at an airport, and as she stepped out of the car, the Uber driver started driving and ran over her ankle and shattered her ankle, and that was still 100% covered by the Uber insurance policy.